The ships appeared on a Tuesday morning. 16 massive structures, each one the size of Manhattan, materialized in Earth's orbit without warning. No gravitational distortions. No heat signatures. No advance notice from any telescope, satellite, or deep space monitoring station. They simply existed where nothing had been seconds before, hovering in perfect geometric formation above the planet. Dr. Sarah Chun was drinking coffee in the Jet Propulsion Laboratory break room when every alarm in the building began screaming simultaneously. She dropped her mug. It shattered across the tile floor, but she was already running toward mission control before the ceramic pieces stopped spinning. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Screens displayed impossible data. Radar signatures that violated physics. Mass readings that made no sense. Her colleague Marcus grabbed her arm as she entered, his face drained of color. "They're not responding to any communication," he said. "Radio, laser, microwave. We've tried everything across every spectrum. Sarah, they're just sitting there." She pushed past him to her station, fingers flying across the keyboard. The optical feed from the International Space Station showed one of the vessels in horrifying detail. Its surface wasn't metal or any material she recognized. It seemed to absorb light itself, a darkness so complete it hurt to look at directly. How long have they been? The screens changed. Every screen in mission control, every television on Earth, every smartphone, computer monitor, digital billboard, and display device capable of showing an image, simultaneously, globally, without exception. The face that appeared was humanoid, but wrong. Too long features. Eyes that held depths no human gaze could match. Skin that seemed translucent, showing geometric patterns beneath the surface that shifted and moved with nauseating fluidity. It didn't speak. It didn't need to. The image changed again, and Sarah's stomach lurched. Earth. From orbit. The camera, or whatever technology the aliens used, zoomed toward the surface with sickening speed. North America. The eastern seaboard. Manhattan. "Oh, God," Marcus whispered beside her. "Oh, God, no." People filled the streets below. Thousands of them, going about their morning routines. Coffee. Commutes. The ordinary texture of human life. The alien camera held steady, showing Times Square from 500 feet up. Then it began. Sarah would never find adequate words for what happened next. The people below didn't explode or disintegrate. They simply stopped being. One moment, 20 million human beings existed across 12 major cities on 4 continents. The next moment, they didn't. No blood, no screams, no debris. They were there, and then they weren't. The broadcast held on each location for exactly 30 seconds. New York, Tokyo, London, Mumbai, Sao Paulo, Moscow, Lagos, Sydney, Seoul, Mexico City, Cairo, Berlin. 20 million lives. Erased, while 8 billion others watched. The alien face returned to every screen. It tilted its head slightly, studying the camera, studying humanity through the lens. Then it did something that made Sarah's blood freeze. It smiled. Not a human smile. Something else. Something that conveyed pleasure and ownership and absolute contempt simultaneously. The expression of a child pulling wings off insects. Not malicious. Simply indifferent to suffering. The screens went black. For 3 seconds, silence crushed the world. Then the screaming started. Sarah stood frozen at her station, while chaos erupted around her. People sobbing, shouting. Someone vomited in a trash can. Marcus had collapsed into his chair, hands covering his face. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister in Chicago. "Are you seeing this?" Mom was in Manhattan. She's not answering. "Sarah, Mom's not answering." The screens flickered back to life. Not the aliens this time. Emergency broadcasts. Every government activating crisis protocols simultaneously. The president appeared, his face a mask of barely controlled rage and grief. "My fellow Americans, my fellow human beings across this world, what we have witnessed today is an act of war, an unprovoked massacre of innocents. These invaders have shown us who they are. They have shown us what they think of human life." He paused, And Sarah saw something terrifying in his eyes. Something that looked like decision, like finality. We are not defenseless. We are not helpless. And we will not allow this atrocity to stand unanswered. The broadcast cut to military facilities worldwide. Silos opening. Submarines surfacing. Aircraft carriers repositioning. But Sarah had worked in aerospace long enough to recognize something else in the images. Facilities that officially didn't exist. Projects buried under layers of classification. So deep, even she had only heard whispers. Her screen chimed with an encrypted message. Priority Alpha. Eyes only. She entered her clearance codes with shaking hands. The message was 3 words long. Prometheus is active. Sarah's breath caught. Prometheus, the theoretical project. The one discussed only in classified briefings with security clearances that required genetic verification. The doomsday protocol that made nuclear weapons look like firecrackers. The weapon humanity had built but prayed it would never need to use. Marcus appeared at her shoulder, reading the screen over her arm. His voice came out strangled. They're actually doing it. They're going to use it. We don't have a choice, Sarah heard herself say. The words tasted like ash. Above them, in the silent void of space, the 16 ships continued their vigil, waiting, watching. They had given humanity a demonstration of power. Now humanity would return the lesson, and nothing would remain. The emergency bunker beneath Mount Weather smelled like recycled air and terror. General James Kozlov stood before a wall of screens, showing real-time data from every corner of the planet. 36 hours had passed since the broadcast. 36 hours since 20 million people ceased to exist. The world hadn't stopped screaming yet. Status on Prometheus, he said. His voice carried the flatness of a man who had already made peace with damnation. Colonel Park, her uniform crisp despite the chaos, pulled up schematics that made everyone in the room flinch. All 7 installations report ready status. Particle accelerators at maximum charge. Quantum entanglement matrices synchronized. We're drawing enough power to dim lights across 3 continents, but the Cascade reactors are holding steady. Casualties from power diversion? Hospital backups are failing in 14 countries. Estimated 3,000 deaths per hour from life support systems going offline. Park's jaw tightened. The numbers will climb. Kozlov absorbed this like a physical blow. 3,000 human lives every hour. Sacrifice to charge a weapon that might kill billions more. The mathematics of extinction. And if we don't fire, the aliens haven't moved, haven't communicated. But our sociologists predict complete civilization collapse within 72 hours. Riots have already started. Mumbai is burning. Sao Paulo declared martial law. We're detecting radiation signatures from Pakistan and India. They're preparing to launch at each other because they need to hit something, anything. The general turned to the screen showing Earth from orbit. The 16 alien ships hung there like black tumors against the stars. Unchanged, unmoved, utterly indifferent to the chaos below. They're waiting, he said quietly. They want to see what we'll do. Sir, Park stepped closer. Intelligence suggests this might be a test. First contact protocols from every theoretical framework indicate. Protocols assume rational actors, Colonel. Those things murdered 20 million people as a greeting card. There's nothing to negotiate with. His phone buzzed. The president's face appeared on the secure video feed. The man had aged a decade and a day and a half. General, I've just come from the Security Council. Russia, China, the EU. Everyone agrees. We proceed with Prometheus. Kozlov nodded slowly. Mr. President, once we activate the final sequence, there's no abort. The quantum cascade becomes self-sustaining. We'll tear a hole in space-time itself. Will it kill them? It'll kill everything within 0.8 astronomical units of Earth. The ships, every satellite, the International Space Station. He paused. And potentially destabilize our sun's magnetic field. We might trigger solar storms that sterilize the planet's surface. The president's face remained stone. Survival probability? 12%. Maybe 15% if we're lucky with the fallout patterns. And if we do nothing, they'll kill us all anyway. Just slower, while they watch. Silence stretched between them, behind the president. Kozlov could see advisors arguing in hushed tones. The weight of 8 billion lives balanced on a razor's edge. Do it, the president said finally. God forgive us all. The feed went dark. Kozlov turned to his team. 23 officers who knew they were about to end the world. Begin final authorization sequence. All stations report when ready. Across the globe, buried facilities hummed to life with enough power to run entire nations. In Nevada, beneath the desert floor, magnetic containment fields strained against forces that could vaporize matter at the atomic level. In Siberia, quantum computers calculated probability matrices for tearing holes between dimensions. In Argentina, Australia, South Africa, Norway, 7 points forming a perfect geometric pattern across Earth's surface, humanity gathered its rage and physics into a single purpose: annihilation. Sarah Chun watched the countdown from JPL, her security clearance having granted her access to the observation protocols. Around her, scientists wept openly. Some prayed. Others simply stared at the screen showing the alien ships, still motionless, still silent. Prometheus uses quantum entanglement weaponized at stellar scale, she explained to Marcus, her voice mechanical, clinical, the only way to discuss the undiscussable. We're going to create 7 simultaneous singularities and collapse them into each other through folded space. The resulting cascade will propagate at relativistic speeds and convert all matter within range into energy, including us, Marcus said. The bunkers might protect some, underground cities, submarine crews deep enough, but the electromagnetic pulse alone will fry every circuit on the planet. We'll be back to the Stone Age. The ones who survive will inherit radioactive wasteland, better than being erased by them. Sarah wanted to argue, wanted to find some alternative hidden in the equations, but she'd run the numbers 17 times. Humanity had 1 bullet left, and it was pointed at its own head along with the enemy's. The countdown reached 10 minutes. Her phone rang. Her sister. Sarah answered with shaking hands. I found Mom, her sister sobbed. She wasn't in Manhattan. She was in Brooklyn visiting Aunt June. She's alive, Sarah. She's alive. Relief and horror crashed through Sarah simultaneously. Her mother lived, but in 8 minutes, the weapon would fire, and survival meant inheriting hell. Get underground, Sarah said. Subway tunnels. Parking garages. As deep as you can. Don't come up for at least 72 hours. What's happening? The news is saying, I love you. Tell Mom I love her. Now go. Run. She ended the call before her sister could respond. The countdown reached 5 minutes. Kozlov's voice echoed through every military installation on Earth. All stations confirmed final authorization. One by one, voices responded. Nevada, Siberia, Argentina, Australia, South Africa, Norway. The 7th installation, buried beneath the Pacific Ocean. Authorization confirmed. Prometheus is armed. 3 minutes. The screen showed the alien ships. Still motionless. Still watching. Sarah wondered if they understood what was coming. If they could comprehend that their victims would rather destroy everything than submit. That humanity's final answer to overwhelming force was mutual annihilation. 2 minutes. Someone was screaming prayers in Mandarin. Another officer vomited. The general stood rigid, his finger hovering over the final execution command. 1 minute. Sarah closed her eyes and thought about every beautiful thing humanity had ever created. Art and music and poetry. The first laugh of children. The way morning light looked through autumn leaves. 8 billion individual universes of experience, memory, hope, all about to end. 30 seconds. The general's finger descended toward the button. Then every screen in the facility went white. Not black, not dark, blinding, absolute white. And a voice, the same alien voice from the broadcast, spoke for the first time in human language. Stop. The word didn't come through speakers. It came from everywhere and nowhere, resonating inside Sarah's skull, behind her eyes, in the hollow of her chest where her heart hammered against her ribs. General Kozlov's finger froze a millimeter from the execution button. The white light on every screen coalesced into the alien face. But different now. The geometric patterns beneath its translucent skin pulsed rapidly, almost frantically. Its two long features twisted into an expression that might have been fear. "You will destroy yourselves," it said. The words came in perfect English, Mandarin, Arabic, Spanish, every language simultaneously, each person hearing their native tongue. "You will ignite the cascade. We miscalculated." Miscalculated? Kozlov's voice was a growl. His fingers still hovered over the button. 20 seconds remained on the countdown. "You murdered 20 million people. You want to talk about miscalculation?" The alien's eyes, those impossible depths, fixed on the camera as if it could see through dimensions. That was the lesson. The choosing. Every species must prove their worthiness to join the collective. You were selected for evaluation. Sarah felt rage ignite in her blood. Evaluation? You killed 20 million human beings as a test. 15 seconds. "Survival requires strength," the alien continued. Its voice carried no remorse, no guilt, only urgent calculation. "We have evaluated 647 species across this galaxy. The weak submit. The unworthy fragment and destroy themselves through internal conflict. The worthy demonstrate capacity for unified resistance." "You wanted us to fight back," Colonel Park whispered, horror dawning on her face. "Yes, but not this." The alien's patterns flickered violently. "We expected conventional warfare, nuclear exchange, biological weapons, acceptable demonstrations of species-level coordination. Instead, you built this." The word dripped with something that might have been respect or might have been terror. "You will tear reality itself. You will unmake matter at quantum foundations. This weapon will propagate beyond your solar system. It will cascade through subspace and destroy 17 inhabited systems before the propagation collapses." 10 seconds. "Billions of lives across the local cluster," the alien said, "including our homeworld. You will not merely die. You will commit genocide against species you have never met. Is this your answer?" Kozlov's hand trembled. Sweat ran down his face. "You gave us no choice. We gave you survival pressure. We gave you reason to unify. We did not give you permission to destroy the sector." 5 seconds. Sarah's mind raced through the implications. Prometheus wasn't just a suicide weapon. It was a galaxy-spanning catastrophe waiting to happen. They built something so destructive, so fundamentally wrong in its manipulation of physics, that it terrified beings capable of instantaneous global communication and matter erasure. Humanity had looked into the abyss and built a bigger abyss to throw back. 3 seconds. "If I don't push this button," Kozlov said slowly, "what happens?" "You join the collective. You receive technology, knowledge, access to 17,000 species across 42 galaxies. You become part of something greater than your single world." 2 seconds. "And if I do push it?" "Everyone dies. Everywhere. For 600 light years in all directions." 1 second. Kozlov's finger lifted from the button. The countdown stopped at 0.3 seconds. Every person in the bunker released breath they hadn't known they were holding. Someone sobbed. Another collapsed to their knees. The alien's pattern slowed, stabilized. "You're past a lesson. You demonstrated unity under existential threat. You created a weapon that frightens even us. You stopped at the precipice of mutual destruction when given reason. These are the hallmarks of a collective-ready species." 20 million people, Sarah heard herself say. Her voice shook with barely contained fury. "You could have just asked. You could have explained. You could have done literally anything except mass murder." The alien's head tilted. "Would you have believed? Would you have unified? Your species was fragmenting. War, climate collapse, resource depletion. In 47 years, you have destroyed yourselves through gradual decay. We have seen this pattern 912 times across evaluated species. The lesson forces crystallization. Survive together or die together. There is no middle path." "You're monsters," Marcus said quietly. We are pragmatic. Sentient life is rare and precious. We save what can be saved. We elevate species capable of elevation. The 20 million were a sacrifice. The 8 billion remaining our salvation. Kozlov's face had gone gray. Stand down, Prometheus, he said into the communicator. All stations abort. Authorization code Omega Omega Black. Across the planet, the 7 installations began powering down. It would take hours to safely discharge the cascade reactors. The general turned back to the screen. The people we lost. Can you bring them back? No. Matter erasure is absolute. They are gone. Then we haven't passed anything. We've just learned we're auditioning for slavers. The alien's expression shifted into something unreadable. You misunderstand collective. We do not rule. We do not conquer. We are a voluntary association of species pursuing mutual advancement. You will have full autonomy, full sovereignty. We offer only knowledge and connection. In exchange for what? Participation, your unique perspectives, your solutions to problems we have not yet solved. Every species contributes something irreplaceable to the whole. The alien paused. You, for instance, have just contributed a weapon design. We will now need to develop countermeasures against. Your capacity for creative destruction is remarkable. Sarah wanted to scream. The casual dismissal of 20 million lives. The cold calculation beneath every word. The idea that humanity should feel grateful for being tortured into evolution. But she also understood the terrible logic. They had unified, every nation working together toward a single purpose for the first time in human history. They'd stopped at the edge of the abyss when given reason. They'd proven something, even if the cost was unconscionable. What happens now? She asked. The ships will descend. We will establish contact facilities in major population centers. We will begin technology transfer. Medical advancements that will extend your lifespans by centuries. Energy solutions that will reverse your climate collapse. Access to the galactic network of knowledge. Just like that. After you killed 20 million of us. Yes, the lesson is complete. You passed. There is no value in prolonging conflict. Kozlov stepped closer to the screen. And what if we refuse? What if we tell you to leave and never come back? The alien's patterns flickered. Then you will die in 47 years as projected. Climate cascade. Resource wars. Nuclear exchange over water rights. We have modeled your trajectory without intervention. This is not threat. This is mathematical certainty. You're forcing us to accept. We are offering survival. The choice remains yours. The general looked around the bunker at his officers, at Sarah and the scientists, at the screen showing Earth from orbit, scarred, damaged, burning in a dozen places, but still alive, still fighting. I need to consult with world leaders, he said finally. But understand this. If you're lying, if this is another test or manipulation, or anything except what you claim, we'll finish what we started. We'll fire Prometheus and take you with us. The alien almost smiled. That is precisely why you passed. That is precisely why you are worthy. The screen went dark. Silence filled the bunker like water filling a grave. 6 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of what had been the United Nations building and stared at the New York skyline. The alien structure rose from where Times Square used to be, a spiral of impossible geometry that hurt to look at directly, phasing in and out of visible spectrum like reality couldn't quite contain it. They called it the Gateway, one of 12 built across Earth. The city had changed. Everywhere she looked, human and alien technology merged in ways that made her architectural understanding obsolete. Buildings that grew like crystals, transit systems that folded space, so commuters stepped from Tokyo to London in a single pace. Medical centers where diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia were erased with quantum restructuring. The dead stayed dead, though 20 million ghosts that nobody mentioned in the official celebrations of humanity's ascension to the collective. Her mother was one of them. The text from her sister had been wrong. Mom had been in Manhattan after all, visiting a friend in Greenwich Village. Sarah had spent weeks convincing herself it was a mistake, checking databases, calling hospitals. But quantum erasure left no DNA, no remains, no proof of existence except memories that felt increasingly unreal. Dr. Chun. She turned to find Ambassador Redis, the first alien assigned permanent Earth residence. Its form shifted slightly in the afternoon light, geometric patterns beneath translucent skin moving in rhythms she'd learned to read like body language. This one indicated professional courtesy with underlying concern. Ambassador, she said flatly, you have been avoiding the integration sessions. Your expertise in astrophysics is required for the Solar Shield project. I've been busy. You have been grieving. Redis moved closer, its two long limbs folding in a gesture that might have been meant as comforting. Your maternal parent. I have reviewed the records. She was erased during the lesson. Sarah's hands curled into fists. Don't you dare use your clinical words for what you did. I did not conduct the lesson. I am diplomatic caste. But I understand your anger. Do you? Do you really? She stepped toward the alien, 6 months of rage finally breaking through professional numbness. Can your species even feel loss? Or do you just calculate acceptable casualties and move on? Rethus's patterns flickered rapidly. Agitation or maybe shame. We feel loss, but we feel it differently. Individually, each death is tragedy. Collectively, we measure against extinction. Your species was 47 years from total collapse. 20 million died, so 8 billion could survive. The mathematics are brutal but clear. Mathematics. Sarah laughed bitterly. My mother wasn't a number. She was a woman who loved terrible mystery novels and made the world's worst coffee and cried at dog videos. She was irreplaceable, and you people erased her to make a point. Yes. The alien's patterns went still, complete honesty, and I grieve for her and the 19,999,999 others. But I do not apologize. The collective has saved 648 species from extinction. Each required the lesson. Each paid the price in blood. Each survived because we forced them to choose unity over death. Sarah wanted to hit something, to scream, to reject everything the collective offered. But she'd seen the projections, the climate models, the resource depletion curves. Earth had been dying, and humanity had been too fractured to stop it. The aliens had been right about that, at least. The Solar Shield, she said finally, voice hollow. When do you need me? Now. We have detected anomalies. Something in the alien's tone made her stomach drop. What kind of anomalies? Redis gestured toward the gateway. Better to show you. They walked through streets where humans and aliens moved together in careful choreography. 6 months of integration had created a strange new normal. Children played near alien architecture. Street vendors sold food to beings with biochemistry that required completely different nutritional bases. The world was changing so fast Sarah could barely recognize it. Inside the gateway, reality bent sideways. One step took them from New York to the collective facility orbiting Jupiter. Sarah's stomach lurched as physics adjusted around her. The observation chamber showed Jupiter in terrible beauty. Swirling storms larger than Earth, band of color that hypnotized. But something was wrong. The ambient light flickered strangely, and her skin prickled with static charge. 3 days ago, we detected unusual tachyon emissions from your sun, Redis explained. Holographic displays materialized, showing data streams Sarah could barely parse. The star's magnetic field is destabilizing, cascading feedback loops in the core fusion processes. Sarah's blood went cold. That's impossible. The sun is stable for another 5 billion years. Under normal circumstances, yes. But these are not normal circumstances. More displays appeared, and Sarah's breath caught. Prometheus, the weapon they'd almost fired. When your species aborted the launch sequence, the Cascade reactors were discharged safely. Redis continued. But the quantum entanglement matrices had already established connections through folded space. Think of it as a scar in reality. We believed it would heal naturally. But it's not healing. It is growing. The quantum tunnels are propagating through subspace toward your star's core. In approximately 72 hours, They will intersect the fusion zone. The result will be a cascade reaction that converts your sun into a quantum singularity. The room spun. Sarah grabbed the edge of a console for support. The sun will collapse. Your sun will become a black hole. Earth and the inner planets will be destroyed instantly. The gravitational disruption will destabilize the outer system. Jupiter, Saturn, everything, gone within hours. Fix it. Sarah's voice came out strangled. You have technology that makes ours look like stone tools. Fix it. Rethus's patterns went gray. Despair. We cannot. The quantum cascade operates at dimensional levels we do not fully understand. Your species created something we have never encountered before. A weapon that wounds reality itself, and the wound is spreading. Then we're dead. Everyone. 8 billion people saved just to die anyway. Not everyone. The alien pulled up star charts. We can evacuate. The collective has colony worlds. Generation ships that can carry millions. We can save perhaps 40% of your population before the collapse. 40%. 3.2 billion people. Which meant 4.8 billion would die. Sarah thought of her sister in Chicago, her father in Seattle, friends scattered across the globe. The impossible calculus of who lived and who burned when the sun died. There has to be another way, she whispered. There is one possibility. Redis hesitated, patterns flickering uncertainty. We could complete what you started. Fire Prometheus intentionally, but with collective modifications. Use the quantum cascade to collapse the propagating tunnels before they reach your star. But that would kill everything within 0.8 astronomical units of Earth. Yes, including Earth itself. But the collective can shield humanity. We can evacuate everyone to Jupiter's moons, then trigger the weapon. Your sun survives. Your species survives. Only the inner system is lost. Sarah looked at Earth through the viewport. Blue and green and beautiful, already transforming under alien influence. Home, the cradle of everything humanity had ever been. How long do we have? 72 hours to decide. Then physics decides for us. She closed her eyes and saw her mother's face. 20 million dead to save 8 billion. Now 8 billion would lose their home to save themselves from their own weapon. The price of survival kept climbing, and the bill was coming due. The emergency session of the Global Unity Council convened within an hour. 200 representatives from every nation crowded into the Gateway's central chamber, their faces projected on holographic displays for those attending remotely. Sarah sat in the scientific advisory section, surrounded by the brightest minds humanity and the collective could assemble. None of them had an answer. Let me make certain I understand, President Morrison said, her voice cutting through the rising panic. Our choice is between losing Earth and the inner planets, or losing everything including the sun and most of the solar system. Correct, Redders responded. The alien stood at the center of the chamber, surrounded by data streams showing the quantum cascade spreading through subspace like cancer through tissue. The propagation cannot be stopped through conventional means. We have consulted with 43 collective species, specializing in dimensional physics. The consensus is unanimous. Then we evacuate to Jupiter's moons and destroy our own world. The Russian premier's voice was hollow. We become a species without a home. You become a species that survives. Another alien, Coordinator Vex, interjected. The collective has assisted in 17 planetary evacuations. The trauma is significant, but adaptation is possible. Within 3 generations, Jupiter's moons will feel like home to your descendants. 3 generations. The Chinese ambassador laughed bitterly. What do we tell the children? Sorry, we destroyed your birthright because we built a weapon we couldn't control. Sarah watched the argument spiral. Rage and grief and desperation mixing into toxic blame. Some representatives wanted to refuse evacuation entirely. If Earth died, humanity should die with it. Others demanded the collective save Earth through technology they'd already admitted didn't exist. A few suggested activating Prometheus immediately, ending it all before hope could make the suffering worse. Her tablet buzzed. A private message from Marcus. Check the quantum propagation models. Something's wrong with the timeline. She pulled up the data, fingers flying across holographic interfaces. The cascade was spreading faster than Redis had indicated. Not 72 hours until solar collapse. More like 48. And there was something else. An anomaly in the quantum signature that didn't match the Prometheus weapon design. Ambassador Redis, Sarah interrupted, her voice carrying across the chamber. The propagation timeline has accelerated, and the quantum signature is wrong. The aliens' patterns froze. Explain. Prometheus creates Type 7 quantum tunnels with specific dimensional resonance. But these readings show Type 9 tunnels. Higher dimensional intersection. That's not something our weapon can produce. She stood, pulling the data onto the main display. This isn't Prometheus malfunctioning. This is something else. Silence crashed through the chamber. Coordinator Vex moved forward, its form-shifting colors Sarah had never seen before, alarm verging on terror. Isolate the signature variants. Show me the dimensional frequency. Sarah complied. Numbers filled the air, mathematical languages that hurt her eyes to parse. Vex turned to Redis. You told them it was their weapon. Because that was illogical. You lied. Vex's voice resonated with harmonics that made the chamber walls vibrate. This is a collective signature. This is one of OURS. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouting questions. Scientists demanding explanations. Security forces moving toward the aliens with hands on weapons they've been assured would never be needed. Rethus's patterns went dark, shame or maybe resignation. The lesson has a secondary component. A final test conducted 6 months after initial contact. We destabilize the star system using technology that resembles the species' own weapons. They must choose whether to evacuate or trust that we will repair the damage at the last possible moment. Sarah's vision went red. You're doing this deliberately. You're threatening to kill us again. It is the choice. Species that evacuate demonstrate pragmatic survival instinct and become logistics partners in the collective. Species that trust us to repair the damage demonstrate faith and become diplomatic partners. Species that attempt to fight or refuse both options fail the test and are left to their extinction. You're testing us? President Morrison's voice was ice. After everything? After 20 million dead? You're running another psychological experiment. Every species requires this verification. Unity under threat proves capability. Choices under uncertainty prove character. Redis turned to face the council. You have 48 hours. Evacuate, trust, or die. The consequences are real. Your sun will collapse if we do not intervene. But intervention requires your demonstrated faith. General Kozlov stood slowly. His face carried the expression of a man who'd found the bottom of his soul and discovered it was deeper than expected. And if we choose to fire Prometheus for real this time, complete what we started, then you will fail the test. The weapon will destroy Earth, as intended. We will not shield you. 23 billion sentient beings across 17 systems will die, and humanity will be responsible for the greatest genocide in galactic history. But you would die too, Kozlov said quietly. Yes, which is why we trust you will make the correct choice. Sarah looked around the chamber, at faces twisted with betrayal and rage. 6 months of integration. 6 months of believing they'd joined something greater. All of it built on manipulation and manufactured crises. But underneath her fury, her scientist's mind was working. The quantum cascade, she said slowly. If you can create it, you can collapse it. You're not asking us to trust that you can fix it. You're asking us to trust that you will. Precisely. Rethus's pattern stabilized into something like approval. Faith is not belief in capability. Faith is belief in benevolent intent. Every collective species must demonstrate this threshold trust. After you murdered 20 million of us. Because we murdered 20 million of you. Forgiveness is a foundation of multi-species cooperation. You must choose to believe we acted with long-term benevolence despite short-term atrocity. Marcus stood beside Sarah. And if we can't, if the wound is too deep, then you are not ready for collective. You will be left to whatever fate befalls you. We will quarantine the system and move on. The chamber descended into chaos again. Representatives screaming for the aliens to leave, others begging for guaranteed salvation, some demanding activation of every weapon humanity possessed. Sarah closed her eyes and thought about her mother, about 20 million ghosts, about the impossible choice between trusting monsters or becoming monsters themselves. Her tablet buzzed again. Another message from Marcus. I've been analyzing 6 months of collective technology transfers. The medical advances, the energy solutions, they're all real. They've saved an estimated 400 million lives that would have been lost to disease and climate collapse. Whatever else they are, they're not lying about helping. 400 million lives saved, 20 million lives taken. The mathematics were still brutal, still blood-soaked, but the numbers pointed towards something that might be pragmatism rather than sadism. I want to see the records, Sarah said, her voice cutting through the noise. Every species that went through the lesson and the choice. Their outcomes. Their integration status. Everything. Redis hesitated, then gestured. Data flooded the displays. 648 species. Each one forced through manufactured crisis. Each one tested beyond endurance. Sarah scanned the results. 593 species had chosen trust. All thrived within the collective. 41 species had chosen evacuation. They survived but remained marginal partners, never fully integrated. 14 species had chosen violence. All 14 were extinct. Show me a species that chose trust and later regretted it, she demanded. The displays went blank. There are none. Show me a species that the collective betrayed after integration. Blank again. There are none. Sarah looked at President Morrison, at General Kozlov, at representatives from every nation that had united 6 months ago under threat of extinction. They're bastards, she said clearly. They're cruel and manipulative, and their methods are monstrous. But they're not liars. Everything they promised, they've delivered. Everything they've said would happen has happened. They killed your mother, someone said. I know. Tears burned her eyes. But she died for a reason, even if I hate the reason. And 400 million people are alive because of what came after. I don't forgive them. I'm not sure I can ever forgive them, but I can choose to believe they'll do what they claim. You're saying we should trust them? Kozlov's voice was dangerous. I'm saying we should trust that they're pragmatic. They need us alive and functional. Dead or broken. We're useless to them. The collective isn't benevolent, but it is self-interested, and their interests align with our survival. The chamber went quiet. President Morrison stood, all in favor of remaining on Earth and trusting the collective to resolve the quantum cascade. Hands rose slowly. Not everyone, not even a majority at first, but enough. The ayes have it, Morrison said finally. God help us all. Rethus's pattern shifted to colors Sarah had never seen, something between relief and respect. You have chosen wisely. The cascade will be collapsed in 40 hours. Earth will be saved, and humanity has proven itself worthy of full collective membership. Don't, Sarah said sharply. Don't make this noble. We chose survival over spite. Nothing more. That, the alien said, is precisely what nobility looks like to us. The next 40 hours moved like continental drift. Sarah remained at the Jupiter facility, monitoring the quantum cascade with collective scientists who worked with frantic precision. The mathematics were beautiful and terrible, reality being stitched back together one subspace layer at a time. True to their word, the aliens collapsed the propagation 18 hours before solar impact. The sun stabilized. Earth remained. Sarah took the gateway back to New York and stood on the observation deck, watching the city lights come on as evening fell. Somewhere down there, her sister was putting her children to bed, telling them stories about a world that would still exist tomorrow. Her mother would never see those grandchildren grow up, but they would grow up. Dr. Chun. She turned to find read his. The alien had followed her, its pattern subdued. I know you hate us, it said quietly. I know you always will, on some level. But I want you to understand. Every species, we say, believes the cost was too high. Until they see what they would have lost. Until they watch their great-great-grandchildren explore stars that would have been forever out of reach. The pain never fully heals, but it becomes bearable against the weight of generations that live because of it. Sarah stared at the alien for a long moment. Then she turned back to the window. "Get out of my sight." Red is left without another word, alone on the observation deck. Sarah allowed herself to cry for the first time in 6 months. For her mother, for 20 million dead, for humanity's innocence, burned away like atmosphere in re-entry. They had survived. They had struck back against impossible odds and forced the universe to blink first. But survival had a price, and payment was measured in ghosts. Below, New York glittered in the gathering dark. 8 billion people breathing, living, continuing. It would have to be enough. It was all they had left.